Whom Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 04:19 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
Free Talk Live.
There are certain cultures in the world that when they get up every day, the first thing they say is death to America. I don't know why. That's just how they feel about it.
Why do you think someone would be so angry, so dedicated, that they might be willing to sacrifice their own life to destroy the people of a country that are half a world away? Why do you think that would be?
Well, capitalism and our democratic system is counter to things that they believe in.
Has nothing to do with bombs being dropped on their countries?
Let's look at who started that. Are we supposed to not defend ourselves?
Wow. Do you think the world just
organizing globally to attack us?
Do you think the world started on 9/11? Do you really believe that the United States was the victim in this world conflict?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
NASA announced the discovery of a mile-wide asteroid this week that could potentially trigger a global level of extinction, forcing upscale fashion retailer Nordstrom out of business. Researchers confirm that the celestial object is traveling at speeds exceeding 29,000 miles per hour, threatening to slam into the planet with more than 1 million megatons of force, enough to jeopardize operations at all 117 full-line Nordstrom locations.
Unless we can find some way to divert or intercept the asteroid, all 7 billion people on Earth, including all 62,500 Nordstrom employees, may die. Even if the asteroid breaks into smaller pieces upon entering to the atmosphere, a death toll as low as several hundred million could still slow foot traffic in stores and reduce online orders from Nordstrom's subsidiary, Hot Look.
Humanity is surprised it still hasn't figured out an alternative to letting power-hungry assholes decide everything. And a magical office worker is able to turn everything he touches into more work for his colleagues.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Well, this is Free Talk Live. I'm anticipating hearing Mark at some point, but it appears as if there's a technical Stand by. Just one moment.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, it turns out that there's a button and it needed to be pressed. Go figure. In a studio full of buttons and faders.
All I am is glad it wasn't a button I was supposed to press.
Yeah, this one, it was not on your side, Mark. It was on mine. So I apologize, but feel free to go ahead and introduce the show to our listeners.
I'll do that a second time. This time over the airwaves.
Well done.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves. That's why we call it Free Talk Live. If it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 days a week, we're here taking your calls. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
Henry, back on the air a second night.
How could you keep me away?
Let's give you a quick introduction, Henry, just so people know who you are. You're a longtime broadcaster here in the Tampa Bay area, and when did you get your first radio program?
First program I was involved in was the Bud Beck Show, which was 2003.
Yep.
Who thought he was going to come down and be the liberal Rush Limbaugh?
Yeah.
And he picked Katherine Harris. We don't have to go all the way back, but anybody that remembers the election of 2000, Bush v. Gore, knows who Katherine Harris is. He decided he was going to launch it from the home of Katherine Harris, and the only thing that he really launched was my chance to take over for him in 2004. Did morning drive here several years.
Wait, I got questions. A liberal talker thought they were going to launch their show from Katherine Harris's house, a Republican supporter? I don't get it.
Not from her house, from her community where her house seat was.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay,
but
gotcha.
The more amazing, the more far-fetched idea was that they were going to launch it from WWPR 1490 AM, the 1,000-watt mega station on the Manatee River. But anyway, I did that, took over, did morning drive on this station, 1490, for about 5 years, went up to Tampa, got on a 50,000-watt station on the weekends for 2 or 3 years, came back here, and then did miscellaneous other stuff. Mainly it was liberal or progressive talk, left of center talk, whatever you want, until finally I came back in 2017, thinking it would be great to talk about President Trump. And I found out it was no fun whatsoever, so I switched to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And my last name is Raines, by the way. It was American AM when we started, Henry Raines Show by the time it was out. Got that from Tony Little, what is with that Nordic track-like ripoff that he does?
I'm not sure I know.
I don't know, but I heard him interviewed on Howard Stern, and he was like, why is everything Tony Little this, Tony Little that? And he said, well, because the only thing I really own is my name.
Excellent.
And I thought that was great advice.
Good thing to say. Sure. So, right. And, of course, Free Talk Live is much more of a libertarian program, but I'm always happy to have you on the air. And whatever your points are, I'm glad to hear them. What do you got for show prep tonight?
Well, we've got I've got two things.
Okay.
I've got the big, the billionaire kind of stuff, and I got the poor, oppressed individual. I'm not sure which one the libertarians would like, but I suggest to you, I opine that Elon Musk needs to be banned from Twitter, much like Donald Trump.
Well, I can tell you libertarians don't like the sound of that. Go ahead.
All right. And the other one is an 18-year-old boy in 1993. I guess 18-year-old boy, man, we was sort of hearkening back to yesterday's show, had sex with two 16-year-old boys. I guess it's 16. But it wasn't illegal for the 18 and the 16-year-olds to have sex. But because they were all male, the state of, I think it was Montana, called it crimes against nature. And so he was a sex offender, and it looks like he served, I believe, it was about 7 years in prison. And they don't want to take him off the sex offenders list now.
I think this is a very interesting story. So, okay, 1993.
Right.
18 years old.
His name is Randall Menges, Menges.
He's at camp.
A ranch.
A ranch.
Yeah.
A
When
ranch
did Brokeback
camp?
Mountain come out?
I don't know. I mean,
maybe
about
that. Well, okay, 93. It was
earlier than that.
It was after 93. I didn't know if they were inspired or something like that.
I think there's probably been more than one case of playing doctor at camps. I'm trying to decide if this ranch is a camp or not. I could see an 18-year-old being sent to camp. I mean, it's your last year of school or something like that. You're a little farther back, something. I don't know.
A ranch in Idaho. I'm sorry, Montana gets into this somehow, but that's where the event occurred.
Seems strange that Montana would be incarcerating an individual over, or perhaps it's the Montana sex offender.
Well,
goes back home.
He was 7 years in prison, and then he was required to register as a sex offender after that. In 2003 is when the Supreme Court overturned all the state laws against homosexual activity.
Yep.
And until this week, when a federal judge ruled that Montana, where he is now listed as a sex offender, has no reason to require him to do that. This is quoting the judge, having consensual, intimate sexual contact with a person of the same sex does not render you a public safety threat. It may render you a hazard to good sex, but that's
whatever your business is.
Yes.
It's your business, not mine.
Anyway, it doesn't increase the risk to the state's children. The judge ordered the state to remove Menges from its sex offender registry by May 21st, so the clock's ticking on that, and erase any records that show that. But that was not good enough for the Montana Attorney General, Austin Knudsen, and he's pushing back. He filed a notice on Wednesday that he tends to appeal the ruling, and let's see what his logic is on all this. And by the way, I guess Austin is male. I don't mean to presume anybody's.
I think we can presume in a story about gay sex that everybody's male. Let's go ahead.
No, the Attorney General.
Oh, okay. Well,
Austin.
Good for him.
People get creative with first names these days. Anyway, this case involves the lingering effects. I don't really see in this explanation what the Attorney General's basis is.
When I went through the story, it was my understanding it was an inconvenience to take him off the list. Like, we've got a list here, it works in a certain way, and your ruling here, Judge, goes against what we're doing.
Well, because he was marked non-compliant with the rules also. So if you're non-compliant with the rules that you don't have to comply to, what other choices does the state have?
That's an interesting question, right? So if you're incarcerated in prison and you receive disciplinary reports in prison, but then you're released because you're falsely incarcerated, the disciplinary reports are irrelevant. So I'd have to say that the non-compliance rules on the sex offender list
it has also other repercussions because he was in a homeless shelter and hadn't registered as being a homeless shelter as his home.
Yeah, this is let's just see what prison did to this guy. Right? Like, he's at a homeless shelter. He was working at a ranch, was complying. They had to throw him in jail for 7 years for gay sex, and now he's a mess. I got to say, the state's really messed this guy up by the sounds of it.
And to make one more wrinkle to a very wrinkled suit here, that he no longer lives in Montana, but he wants to return to work on a ranch or on a rodeo. And, then you really got to go to Montana.
Well, Montana's certainly one of the places you're going to be if you want to work in a ranch or a rodeo.
Says he's loved horses since he was 6 years old.
He might be added to that list if he's not careful. Crimes against nature.
And he wants an equine veterinary nursing degree.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, so sort of a straight line from the rodeo to that.
The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever is on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Henry Rains here.
And you're welcome to call in and talk to us
and
too.
Agree with me.
Yeah, well, that's whatever it is, whatever premise you have, you can agree with Henry or me or both or neither. The number 603-5. Excuse me, I'm trying to give the wrong number. 603-283-6160. Henry, we got rid of our toll-free line probably about a year ago, maybe a little less. We kind of thought nobody pays long-distance fees anymore. What's the point in keeping a toll-free line where people are calling it for free, but we're paying for them to be online?
You get your grandparents to call.
There's that. And my grandparents, like most people's, are passed. And they, so we just went to the regular phone line. Of course, the 603 area code is the same area code as, like my home telephone number and my office line and my cell line and a variety of other numbers.
And you still mess it up when you speak.
Right. That's the reason is I'm trying to give out different numbers that I'm remembering at any given time. 603-283-6160 to call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. What we're talking about here is a situation in the great states of Idaho and Nevada. Apparently
Montana.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Montana, excuse me. Idaho and Montana. It looks like three young men who were at a ranch. I'm not exactly sure why they were at a ranch, but it was two 16-year-olds and an 18-year-old. They engaged in consensual sex. And now,
that is not in dispute.
That is not in dispute.
At least in this case.
And Montana, or was it Idaho? One of the state in which it occurred.
Idaho.
Okay.
Is where it all happened.
Idaho didn't have a law against sex between 18 and 16-year-olds, which I think is probably a bad thing. I mean, generally, if you can have if you can go to jail for a high school senior, go to jail for having sex with a high school junior, you've probably got a bad law. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So
I sort of got the reverse from the way you said that, but now I'm glad you clarified that.
Yes, I think it's bad.
Because we're in agreement.
I think it's also bad for a law to say high school seniors can't have sex with high school freshmen. I think if you're going to put them in the same school, put them in the same institution with each other, I get it. It's dicey, but that's more of an argument against public school than anything else, or at least the high school arrangement. I think it's bad to put 18-year-olds and 14-year-olds in the same institution and expect things to go particularly well.
Okay.
Didn't you see abuse in high school, Henry?
Of the teachers and the students, or just the seniors and the freshmen?
All of that.
I don't think those are equivalent, and which is how we got off on weird tangents yesterday. But, okay, Mark, if you want to keep the seniors away from the freshmen, those senior girls are always looking for their prey in the freshman boys' class.
Afraid that's not the way it goes.
Oh, it's the other way?
It's the other way. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, indeed. So, anyway.
That's why it never worked for me either, so...
Right.
I had no game in my freshman year.
No, well, I mean, how are you supposed to? You barely learned to brush your teeth and get your hair combed. I mean, you're a mess in freshman year.
I was down to my middle of my back by the end of my freshman year. So
yeah, well, it was the 70s.
It was tough to comb, but that's when I bought a brush.
All I'm saying is that I would defend this no matter the genders of any of the parties in this particular situation, as long as everything's consensual.
Okay.
So Idaho came up with this crimes against nature law.
Yes.
Tossed this guy in jail for like 7 years for consensual sex. And this is, this guy's younger than I am. I'm 50 years old. This is a relatively young guy. He then goes to Montana. Montana says, you're a sex offender because reasons. Then the whole gay marriage thing blows up across the nation, and everybody says,
No.
This didn't have to do with gay marriage?
No, because it was the overturning of the crimes against nature law, the sodomy laws, against homosexuals.
But that kind of all went together. It was about the same time frame.
Things.
Okay, they are two separate things.
Well, it's two separate court decisions.
All right, great. In a generally same time frame.
If you consider like within 15 years or so. It was
Okay.
2003 in the Bush administration when they overturned the
Was
sodomy
it?
laws.
All right, then I'm just wildly wrong. Great. So the sodomy laws get overturned in 2003.
Right. And that's not to mean there aren't some crimes against nature that don't have anything to do with humans that we should keep on the books.
I'm curious about what people would call crimes against nature. But then again, I'm also on an 200 FCC licensed radio stations across the United States, so perhaps I ought to keep it,
Giving Elon Musk Twitter rights could be considered a crime against nature, but we'll get to that.
I think that if Twitter is going to be as big as it is, it ought to give everybody the right to say whatever they want. And you know what? If you don't like it, cry in the corner, for God's sake. Tweet about it. Whatever it is. That's what I'm saying.
Who are you referring to?
Anybody who doesn't like it.
Oh, you were looking at me. And...
Well, you're in the room. The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Henry, get ready for Scott the Bigot. Scott, you're on Free Talk Live. Scott, can you hear me now? Captain, is this a audio issue?
I don't think so. Everything looks appropriate. We do have the phone here. He's screened just fine.
Okay.
So maybe put him on hold.
Put him on hold. See what happens.
There's an unscreened call if you want to try it. Otherwise, I can screen it.
Got it. Unscreened call. You're on Free Talk Live.
Roger that. Jimbo here.
Hey, Jimbo, what's on your mind?
I've noticed since basically the Orientals have taken over the networks, apparently all the other on-air channels are running old.
Hey, Jimbo, can you turn the radio in the background down? We can hear that bleeding over, and it's probably going to cause some fun stuff to happen.
Better copied now?
There we go. That's better. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, Jimbo, which Orientals have taken over, and what's the problem?
Oh, it's just law enforcement has gone from operating in the open to sneaking around, and what you thought was a friend is actually a narc and so forth. And
well, I'm certainly familiar with that. But I still don't know what the premise is.
The premise is productivity. For them...
Who's them?
It's forwarding their action and blocking other narco operators on the other side of the fence. So they need no interference with their operations.
I see the point he's making.
Really?
Yeah.
That the Orientals are working with the police to stop the narco operations that are coming from the other side of the fence?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, what that could possibly mean. I would say that the war on drugs is a wild failure, and that the police were never going to win it. Matter of fact, I'd like to take this brief moment to congratulate drugs for winning the war on drugs. More people are doing drugs now that we've had the war on drugs. More people are under the poverty level now that we've had the war on poverty. And matter of fact, now that we've had the war on COVID, I shudder to think what's going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, every time the government declares war on something, that thing grows. And
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Wapner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Mark here with you.
Henry Rains here.
Henry Rains from The Henry Rains Show. What websites you have that are up and running right now, Henry?
Actually, if you want to find some classic Henry Rains from like the Bush-Obama years, I think if you Google American AM, you'll find it on Apple Podcasts and some other places like that. But you can also Google Henry Rains Show, and you'll find the declining years of the Henry Rains Show. They're available for you. And,
were the good years the American AM, or what? I don't understand.
Well, that was when I was still aspiring to make money from radio. And,
I see.
And towards the declining years, I was like, I got to get back into healthcare. Which I did. Which actually, I worked at a call room for a little while for Hoveround to get my feet back. Because you'd be surprised. I was an office manager, a practice manager for an orthopedic practice before I got into radio.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of doctors that want to hire you to run their medical practice when your last job was talk radio host.
I see.
So I had to find a job that would transition me back into healthcare. And I was in the phone room on Hoveround, which you talked. I literally talked to about 10,000 people over 2 years. It was not cold calling. They all had inquired, and then you do your thing. And at another time, we could all delve into what the
thing is
Hoveround and that. But I'm talking to you. Either were talking to people that just live their life poorly for health reasons, contracted diabetes or COPD, maybe through no fault of their own. Or the other people were like 90 years old and their legs had just given out, but they were still healthy and intelligent. I wind up doing a radio show to myself. They're like, "Oh, really? You were the first elected black city official in 1946?"
That's pretty impressive.
Right. Oh, you were on the Olympic, whatever the shooting team was, as female, in Europe in 1950. And I would be going. I would have a great time, but I sort of wasn't making my quota as far as how many
chatting
calls
too much.
completed.
Well, you had happy customers. What are you going to do?
Well, I have happy memories of those customers, or those lost customers, depending on your point of view.
The situation we were discussing here is a story out of Idaho and Montana, where 3 young men, 16, 16, and 18, had consensual sex at a ranch. Idaho decided to lock one of them up, the 18-year-old. They didn't have a crime for, 18-year-olds having sex with 16-year-olds, so they locked them up for crimes against humanity.
Well, we can't really say that. They might have sent those 16-year-olds to juvenile detention where they could have been
sodomized.
rid of their crimes against nature.
Indeed. That's certainly possible. And then basically the problems this young man has getting off the sex offender registry after this particular crime is taken off the books in 2003.
And he's already received a judgment to that in Montana, but the state of Montana Attorney General is not going to let that decision lie flat on his desk.
Right. There will be no decision on this. I'm going to appeal.
Yes.
So, yeah, there we go. Let's go to Scott calling in from Florida. Scott the Bigot, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
All's well.
Good, thanks.
Good. I want to talk about Israel, which is under constant attack. There's two sides to every story, and you hear about, Israel's being poor Israel. Well, the Palestinian people have been oppressed ever since Israel was created on May 14, 1948. And hopefully the evil Zionist entity known as Israel will be wiped off the map. Is that far-fetched?
No, yes, it is far-fetched. A bunch of people launching buckets full of concrete into Israel are not going to be successful.
Well, but someday if Israel gets embroiled with a war with Iran, that's a different story. And the mullahs will not hesitate if Israel ever... and because the reason why I mention that, they keep...
Scott, there's a greater threat to Israel.
What's that?
There's a greater threat to Israel. Because as they try and annex and co-opt those populations that surround them into a great, enlarged state of Israel, they are bringing in people that are reproducing at a faster rate than they are, and they are making themselves at risk of becoming a minority in their own nation at an increasing rate.
The Zionists stole the land outright from the Palestinians in 1948, and they simply changed Palestine to Israel. The Zionists have never had, think about it, they have never had a single day of peace since they were established on May 14th, 1948, and they never will. Nobody.
Is that their fault?
Jews.
Is that the people who are fighting them?
It's the Zionists' fault.
To me, at some point or another, if everybody wants to fight about a piece of land, maybe I just walk away. Maybe I'm like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I get it that many times the Palestinians can't walk away, and that in many cases the Jews can walk away. But I hear so much going on here, and both sides don't sound right to me.
Can I ask Scott another question, please?
Go right ahead.
Scott, please let me ask you a question. So, you're talking about the Zionists in the context of after World War II and plus the movement that preceded World War II and was around in the 20th century and maybe before that. But when Moses came back from Egypt and then when he passed and Joshua was sent and he conquered the people around the area of Israel, was that a Zionist movement?
Anything to do with the establishment for the Jewish people, yes, it is a Zionist movement.
But they didn't have a Zionist movement. They didn't even have many literate people. It was just what people did. People do still. They conquer other people and take their territory.
Yeah, well, that's what the Zionists did. And after World War II, the Jews have used the Holocaust as such leverage to hit everyone over the head. And that's why they've been able to get away with this. And also,
a little upset with the Muslims taking over Spain around 1000 A.D., aren't you?
Yeah.
Are you Sargon of Akkad?
Say that again?
Scott, thank you for the call. When I think about this whole situation, it seems like both sides just kind of spit things out. Were Palestinians there when the Jews were given the land by basically England and France after World War II? Well, yeah, they were, but were they landowners? How many of them were landowners?
Why is that relevant? I'm not taking Scott's side on this. I'm just trying to figure out your logic.
My logic is that it's not your land that's been taken from you if you don't own it.
What if they're sharecroppers?
What if they
were
to
the wealthy Palestinian?
What if they were sharecroppers to a wealthy Jew?
Well, no, you said that if they were removing the other people from the land. I'm talking about in general. Through the course of history.
Yep.
This is something that we
it's
talked
true.
off the air about the other day,
right,
about the monopoly of violence and how it's used by the state.
Right, and I would say that in the case of Jews, they didn't invade, right, and they didn't take over. They were sort of awarded Israel as opposed to being, taking over as an invading army. So there's some distinction here, but we're at the cusp, at the end of when it was acceptable to conquer and take over, and the reason that Japan ostensibly was attacked by the United States was the rape of Nanking and the attack on China, right? Well, in part.
I don't know how much time we have, so I don't know.
Is it ostensibly? That's what I said.
We did not want a power to rise against our empire. And actually, the original plan of Theodore Roosevelt, around the time he negotiated the end of the Russian-Japanese War, was that they would be our cat's paw in the region.
Well, that's true, but it's not ostensibly what we were told.
They just got too uppity.
The number 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Henry Raines, yeah. Mark Edge.
Pavlov's dog here to your your cue there. Oh, what a diverse group of callers you have.
I do certainly have them. So we just had Scott the Bigot on. By the way, I want to thank amplifiers real quick. Rich, who is a platinum amplifier, thank you for supporting Free Talk Live. And if you wish to be thanked on the air and support Free Talk Live, support free speech, support new ideas getting out on the radio that currently aren't getting out on the radio, entering into people's minds, go to amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. And support as Rich has. A platinum amplifier gives $25 a month, but we only ask for $5 a month.
Wow.
A regular. I mean, we give people an option
He's
to
like
go ahead.
9 men in one.
Indeed.
Or women.
We don't guess people's pronouns here. Indeed,
one.
right, yeah. Rich, thank you. It's amp.freetalklive.com. And Scott the Bigot brought up the Palestinian situation that's going on right now, getting lots of news because, well, there's some missiles flying in both directions.
And the building with the AP, Associated Press, was demolished. It also housed Al Jazeera. And it also housed Hamas.
Yep.
Which begs a lot of questions. It's like, chicken and egg, like who rented first? Did Hamas come in to use them for cover, or did they think they would be close to sources by renting that? Or is it the only building that's still standing that suitable for a modern company to communicate from?
And I think the Israeli situation brings up lots of questions.
Well, let's solve it.
Well, I don't think it's possible, but I'll go ahead and I'd like to point some things out. So, there was the shape that Israel was, and then there's the shape that Israel is. And we're talking about a couple of areas: the Gaza Strip, which is currently in question, and then the Golan Heights area.
No, that's Syria's old land.
Excuse me. What's the other area? West Bank. Thank you.
That actually would belong to Jordan when 1967 war, and that's when the Israelis occupied that.
Right. Now, there was kind of an interim area where settlers went into the West Bank.
A continuing interim, if there's such a thing.
And it's very difficult.
Interim implies an ending, but
one wonders how is Israel supposed to protect its citizens if they go into this other sort of zone? Is this Jordan? Is it Israel? And there's a lot of complications. Gaza, on the other hand, is just kind of this, it's been very difficult for Israel to handle. It's not the same situation at all. These areas are different, and they're not like one nation. They're not Palestine, for instance.
Pardon me?
Gaza and the West Bank don't function as one nation by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes, I understand.
And Gaza is notorious. The people in Gaza are notorious for throwing anything over that wall they can throw there.
It's also known as the largest outdoor prison in the world.
Yeah, yep, indeed. And one would wonder, one question that many people ask is, why don't the Muslims and all these other Muslim countries take in these poor refugees?
Well, they actually did have refugees, and they still have refugees, and they still have refugee camps that people are now in their 6th or 7th generation of living in.
Well, why don't they just let them become citizens?
Why don't we just bring them here and let them be citizens?
I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that they probably aren't going to integrate into our society as well.
If you were an autocratic ruler, why would you want to create a group of people that were not necessarily loyal to you and let them build economic power within your power base?
I would say that because if people are, if good folks come into your society that want to work hard, you're going to benefit. That would be.
You already can't employ all your people, the ones that are halfway loyal to you, and now you're going to let this people that are other and have their own culture, their own internal hierarchy come in. No, you keep them in the camp, and you keep them in their camp as long as you can. Because you don't want them causing trouble for you. And then you can always say, let's send them back to Israel. Let them deal with them.
And Israel's not dealing with them. They've walled them off and made what you said the largest outdoor prison. They've been given the opportunity, multiple instances, to sort of create their own country, but they just can't help.
They can't create their own country.
Well, they were allowed to get...
They're never going to create their own country. I would challenge anybody out there listening to go and look at the original map from 1967, just of the occupied territories.
Okay.
And then the autonomous zones that were supposedly set up for the Palestinians. And then look in a chronologic, you can do it easily on a Google, just chronology of Israeli settlements, and you'll see the changing color of the autonomous zones until it's just a checkerboard. Only checkerboards have bigger surfaces, bigger areas than this. This is going to be just chewed up like cottage cheese to little enclaves of Palestinians and Israelis, and you're never going to be able to create a Palestinian state out of that. And on the other hand, you're never going to be able to create an Israeli state out of that because the people that you put into these enclaves are reproducing faster than your people, and you're just putting off a time bomb. You just keep extending the fuse.
I have heard one proposal that I liked the sound of is that Israel could have saved money by giving something like $40,000 to every Palestinian at some point in the past. I don't know what it is today.
40 acres and a mule?
And sending them, and then some other country would benefit. I mean, suddenly these people would be a lot more valuable if they had some money.
All the valuable Palestinians have been able to immigrate.
Yeah.
And I know some that work for oil companies, some that there's a nice Palestinian community as far as economically succeeding in Sarasota to our south. They were the most educated, or one of the most educated populations going into World War II in the Arab world.
But not anymore. Now you've got a situation where in Gaza, every time, the reason Israel stopped concrete shipments into Gaza is because they were shooting bombs made of concrete and over the wall. And at some point or another, you have to not allow your nation to get attacked. I'm not saying that, like I said, I just walk away, but I'm not a nation. I'm a person. I just leave. So I don't have any.
Well, you couldn't leave.
Well, if you're a Palestinian, you can't leave.
Right.
But as a Jew, you can.
Oh, if you were in that, you would want to go somewhere safer?
Oh, what I'm saying is that I can see why Israel, the nation, acts as it does towards Gaza, which is that every time they get something, it seems, if they got plywood, they'd make plywood things to shoot over the wall, it seems. Gaza's just irascible and difficult to deal with, and I can understand from a historical standpoint, but nobody seems to want to negotiate. No one seems to want to come up with some kind of solution. And as many times as it's been tried, I'm almost ready to say there isn't a solution.
The solution is the same solution through history.
What is
People with the power dominate the people without the power and use whatever violence it takes to maintain the status quo.
Indeed. That's kind of how it goes. Gaza is probably more homogenous than even the West Bank by the looks of the maps that I'm seeing here. It's a pretty big, pretty big area. It's got a coastal, you can start a country with this.
It's about the size of Pinellas County.
How big is
Monaco?
Monaco?
That is where St. Petersburg and Clearwater is for people beyond the Tampa Bay area.
How big is Monaco? How big is Liechtenstein? How big is Luxembourg? These places
They actually have commerce and trade that goes freely back and forth through them.
Well, the reason that the reason that Gaza doesn't have trade that goes freely, in part, is because every time they do, Hamas does something awful. And, the people of Gaza could do something about the Hamas folks if they wanted to. I'm not saying they're all responsible any more than you and I are responsible for the actions of the U.S. military or, police in a given area. But I can see why Israel reacts the way it does. Do you?
Well, that's their policy.
What would you do in this circumstance where they get?
If I were trying to control a large population base that was in opposition to my power, well, that would be much like any other. You use violence to keep them down.
Look, democracy doesn't work.
The Israeli people have suffered plenty of violence against them as a people too when they're in their minority.
If we took down all national borders and suddenly took a vote on every given thing that we wanted to vote on, the Chinese and the Indians would have a huge voting bloc, and Americans would have basically nothing to say. I'm against democracy and just allowing people to come into given groups and say, hey, I'd like to vote, and that's what I feel like is sort of being proffered as the solution here, Ian.
No, I don't see that at all.
Well, I don't like the Palestinians being treated badly, but I don't like initiations of force at all. And people just keep going back and saying, well, he hurt me, and then he hurt me, and then he hurt me. There's not a solution. 603-283-6160.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 0419 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Following morning reports indicating that Philadelphia High School for the Performing Arts student Samantha Bylum deals with really weird social pressures on a daily basis, Onion reporters met with the 16-year-old dance student who described feeling regularly alienated from her peers for extremely bizarre reasons.
If you're not up to date on the latest urban street art or Esperanza Spalding albums, the other students will eat you alive. It can get pretty brutal. Just the other day, everyone cut class to go watch the $1 Million Quartet musical at the Forest Theater, but nobody told me. Now I'm the only one that hasn't seen Lance Guest's rendition of Folsom Prison Blues. It's humiliating.
According to Bylum, the school year shows no sign of letting up as she continues dealing with the everyday stresses of auditioning for the school's production of My Fair Lady, keeping up with the latest punk Afrofusion dance groups, and not having enough fishnet sleeves to wear throughout the week.
Honestly, I don't know how the other students deal with it.
Keep checking theonion.com for more as this story develops.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can talk about whatever you want. We got sidetracked on the whole Israel and Palestinian thing.
Your fault, Scott.
Scott the Bigot called in. And Henry, you and I are students of history. I wouldn't call us historians by any stretch.
We're not scholars.
No, definitely not. But we try to stay up on these things, and
better than fiction.
You like to ask me questions that make me question what it is that I think, and I appreciate that. And one of the reasons that you're on the air, for that matter,
it's better than me having to know what I think.
Yeah, and it's when it comes to this Israeli situation, I'd like to see the best solution possible, but it's such a conundrum, such a difficult situation to you can't just encapsulate it quickly. Libertarianism, which I believe in, is a simple solution to complex problems. But there is no simple solution to this problem of the Palestinian difficulties with Israel up to this point, save something as awful as genocide. Like, I'm definitely not going to, as a peace advocate, you're not going to find me looking for that. I can see why Israel takes the position it does. I can see why the Palestinians take the position that they do. I've talked to lots of people, including the very rare Palestinian Jew, about this situation, and trying to come up with, I know they exist though, trying to come up with solutions to this, and it's not easy.
Oh, let's not even take that.
You want me to call Yaakov?
No. I mean, Palestinian Jew just means you're Jewish in the Palestinian area.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But they were always, his grandmother was a Palestinian Jew. So, long time Palestinian
His
Jew.
grandmother was a Jew that lived in the Palestinian area.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. I mean, that's all it means. So I don't have any good solutions for it. Now, what I would say is that at some point or another, you have to give up the notion that your ancestral lands have been taken, that it just doesn't do any good. Like, I am a whole variety. I'm your average mutt white guy, right, in many ways. I could be upset that the Normans invaded and took land from the Anglo-Saxons and the Irish, and, I can be upset at the Romans for whatever they did to the English up to that point. I still mourn Boudica, right? I could be upset about a lot of things, and it's not going to do any good. It's just going to get me upset, and I'm going to sit here and stew, and I'm not going to succeed in doing anything.
And you're the recipient of the privilege from it, so why be upset?
I do have certainly some privilege. There's no doubt about it. But whenever anybody tosses privilege at me, I like to point out I did spend 8.5 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I know what it's like to be.
Like if you'd been black.
I could have been, but I'm not. But I lived in an area where I was the minority by a large amount, like very similar to the numbers that Black Americans are in the United States, for instance. It was 12-1, I think, non-white to white, where I was, and so I know what it's like.
Were you incarcerated? Were incarcerated?
When I was in prison.
12-1? Oh, okay.
There were.
Oh, you didn't mean Bayshore Gardens.
No, not where I grew up.
Okay. I always thought I was missing something over there.
People all over America are clicking, what is Bayshore Gardens? It is a subdivision that my grandmother
I think a Google is going to come up with the Bayshore Garden School of Architecture, though, really. Is
there seriously a Bayshore Gardens School of Architecture?
Yes, it's classic.
Is it kind of like Sarasota School?
No, it's
a lot of flat roofs.
No, Sarasota School is like a real school of architecture.
Okay.
Not a physical school, but a school of thought.
Yes.
Whereas Bayshore Garden School of Architecture is carports instead of
I see.
garages
I see.
and flat roofs that leak and cement block on slabs, terrazzo floors, and then go bad, and you have to tear your terrazzo floor up.
You're being ironic, and I didn't get it. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm truthful, too.
It's Bayshore Garden is a bit of a dump. I think you're talking about Holiday Heights, and now we have just descended into the very depths.
Uberloo.
Right. This is for those of you who are in Rio Linda, that kind of thing. Anyway, I think that at some point in history, you have to
segue.
Give up the notion. Anyway, yes, that's my segue. You have to give up the notion that your ancestors have been harmed. Now, let's think about the Cubans, which is even more recent. There are rich Cubans that fled Cuba and came to the United States. They lost much of what they had in the form of property and these sorts of things. And they came here and they built a better life for themselves. And then there are Cubans that came after them, the Mariel boat lift and these sorts of things, who, committed crimes, and those folks don't like those folks, and these kind of things. And the people who came here to flee when Batista lost power, they're never going to get their property back.
Right. Let's back this up just a little bit.
Okay,
and you touched on it there. The people that you're talking about that fled from Batista were also the more upper classes,
privileged.
So they were more inclined to rebuild their lives than to turn to crime. Whereas in the Mariel boat lifts, Castro emptied the prisons, and it's not surprising a lot of those people turned to crime.
Do you think that there are just people, I don't know what it takes, but that just some people are going to do well in society and others aren't? That some people are just sort of destined to be better. So, for instance, many Cubans fled, when Batista lost power, they fled and they came here with nothing or nearly nothing. Some came here with something. They had, ties to Miami and that kind of thing, but they had nearly nothing. And they built for themselves a better life. But there are people who are in the, sometimes in the lower classes, that are never going to build themselves a better life because that's just not a value set that they actually have. They're not going to start their own business. They're not going to do these things. And I don't know what the answer is.
Perfect example for you.
Go ahead.
Al Capone. He started out as a lowly newspaper boy trying to control the corner that he was selling his newspapers on. And he took those lessons he learned as this poor newspaper boy and built one of the most successful criminal organizations that the United States had known up until the time.
The man was just distributing something that people wanted, and the United States government was only able to get him on tax evasion. They wanted a piece of the pie, and he didn't give it to them, and that's why they locked him up.
Well, but I was talking about his lessons from the newspaper about marketing and regional superiority of your product and things like that. But we can go there too.
I'm just wondering whether this is possibly the case, because I think that Cuba's an interesting look. You don't generally have the wealthy driven out as refugees, right? The wealthy and privileged.
In revolutions, you do.
I mean, usually my experience in France is they just chop their heads off.
You were in France and you got to see that? That was your experience? I would think more like in Venezuela, where the rich people leave when the socialists take over. Or in Nicaragua.
If you talk to Venezuelans here in the United States, the vast majority of them are doing pretty well. They're building for themselves a pretty good life. And it's because, maybe it's because they were just of the expectation that that's how life should be. They know they have to work hard in order to get something better, rather than voting in some criminal in order to have a better life. Hey, if we just vote in the socialist, things will be better.
Why don't we just have a strong dictator that's a capitalist? I think was more how their approach, but yeah.
You think that what was the Venezuelan leader before the one that talks to birds?
We had Maduro now, who
Maduro
was the
now talks to birds.
Chavez.
Yeah, Chavez. Chavez. You think Chavez was capitalist?
No.
Okay, thank God.
Well, not in that incarnation. He was a capitalist before when he was trying to be in the military and work the system that way. But then he flipped and used the other approach.
How are you in the military and a capitalist? I mean, you're a bureaucrat.
Mark, you're talking Latin America.
Okay. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live. I don't know. Your thoughts on whatever we're talking about or some other topic? It's
Are
up
we
to you.
going to break or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You got 5 seconds.
So we won't bring up the School of the Americas then.
CIA.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. My name's Mark.
Henry Rains.
The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Want to tell you about Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin.com is your source for all things cryptocurrency. Whether you're a neophyte or a longtime veteran of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin.com's got something for you. If you're a neophyte, go there to Bitcoin.com, click on Get Started. They'll tell you all you need to know in a few short videos about cryptocurrency. They'll tell you how to get a wallet. They'll tell you how to acquire Bitcoin. They'll sell it to you. Whatever you need. Mining, for God's sakes, they'll let you do that too. It's all available for you at Bitcoin.com. If you're a longtime veteran, check out news.bitcoin.com. Got a story here pulled up right now from Bitcoin.com. It's news.bitcoin.com. So Bitcoin got a big boost relatively recently from Elon Musk. Spaceman-like internet beanie baby.
Finally, we are getting off this roundabout historical excursion that you've been taking us on, Mark. Let's get back to the present day. I've been trying to draw you back like that, but you keep pulling me back into the past. But now we can do something we actually have a real solution to. Elon Musk, delete him, take him off Twitter, ban him from Twitter. It worked for President Trump, and it needs to be done now.
Hold on. What did it work to do with President
Trump? I don't have to hear about Trump's tweets every day. I don't have the market whipsawed, the stock market whipsawed back and forth on that. I don't have to.
I've just got a news story here where some other social media site, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but there's a social media site that all the Trumpsters have run to recently, and I'm sure Trump's on there doing Trumpy things, or he's certainly on the internet somewhere doing something. He's getting all kinds of stuff. Really, what it comes down to is that the journalists said Twitter is our domain, and Trump came onto it, and we don't like it.
No.
The leftist journalists all over the nation, and I have to agree with Trump on this one, is journalists are by and large leftist, and the reason
That's why they would hang on every tweet and report it and use it to get airtime on cable.
Yep, absolutely.
They didn't even have to do journalism with him. They just could wake up in the morning and he'd give him tweets and the material to talk about for the day.
That's the truth.
You know what? This is not a political statement, but it sounds like it. But think of how a divorce happens. You've got two spouses that at one time, most of them were happy to be married. Glad
they must have been, right?
Right. Well, I'm saying most. There can be other reasons that you get married, but it comes a point where you just get tired, and you used to love them, but the things they do every day, it just wears you down. And I think what we saw in a lot of President Trump's electorate that changed, and I may be being a little sexist in this, but I think polling shows it was suburban women.
It went one way or the other?
Yeah. It was over and over again, and finally you get to a point and you cut ties. And then once you finally cut ties, you start to realize, wow, no more drama. I don't have a drama every day. There was a county in Pennsylvania that they went to talk that was heavily Trump the prior election. And one of the converted Trump voters, this was a male, he says, the best thing about Joe Biden is I don't have to think about Joe Biden.
But I'm not sure Joe Biden thinks.
Well, I think Joe Biden is doing
lucid
just
some
fine.
Points of the day.
Right.
Well, when I saw Joe Biden on the campaign
Technocrats
trail,
rule.
What's that?
Technocrats rule in more ways than one.
Yeah, technocrats believe that they, are a bunch of city mice that believe that they know how the whole world is supposed to work, and in fact, they know how Washington works, and that's about it.
And some other things too.
Yeah. Well, look, they're not wrong all the time, but they're wrong often enough that they ought to be hung. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, when it comes to Trump,
name one foreign policy person in the Trump administration other than Mike Pompeo that was in the foreign policy continuously for the 4 years.
I don't think there was one.
Right. So
Mike
how
Pompeo.
are you going to really run a foreign policy if that's how you do it?
Should you be running foreign policy?
Yes.
I mean, I think you should. I think that
as best you can.
I think that there were a lot of mistakes made with the Trump administration. Chief among them, the way that poor Japanese prime minister was treated, who attempted to congratulate him and was left kind of hanging there in the cold for a long time. But when Trump refused to bomb Iran the first time because it might kill about 127 people, I believe was the number, I had some affinity for
127 people.
Yeah, they were military people. Yep. Okay. That's what he said. He said I wasn't going to bomb.
Oh yeah, because it just would have been a one deal, one bomb thing.
Yeah, basically, he was going to bomb some. Yeah, and I'm, I like that. I like the idea that we're working towards some peace. I like that he would look like he was working with, Kim Jong-un there from North Korea. I liked
it when they held hands.
I liked it.
It made me feel good.
It did make me feel good. What's Joe Biden done about that?
He's not holding hands.
He's not going to do anything. What did Barack Obama do about it? Besides fire more cruise missiles than all other Peace Prize winners combined.
You really want me to defend the foreign policy of Joe Biden so far? I can do that. But first, let's kick Elon Musk off of Twitter. He is abusing it. He's a narcissist that is irresponsible.
Twitter's made for narcissists. It's their business model. Hey, are you a narcissist?
Twinkies are made for fat people, but you don't stuff yourself until you have a cardiac event.
Look, if it sells electric cars, then great. What did Elon Musk do? Read the story.
Well, let's give a little backstory here. Okay. So Elon Musk and Twitter, some of the things that he had done and got investigated by the SEC, which needs some tougher rules and regulations that start with Elon Musk needs to. And I made a lot of money on Tesla stock. I made a lot of money on Tesla options this past year. So that isn't it. I should be probably thanking Elon Musk, but I want him off Twitter because now he's crossed a line. I have a high tolerance for people that make me money, but even I have to go to the higher good, the greater good at some time. And it started when he said on Twitter that he was taking Tesla private, that it was already practically a done deal.
No,
you're darn right no. He just said that to manipulate the price, allegedly by me, that it was an attempt to manipulate the price to screw the short sellers. Okay, well, that was between a rich billionaire and a bunch of lesser rich billionaires and multimillionaires.
Right. If you fall for that, I'm kind of the opinion you should have lost money.
Well, yeah, fool me
You're
once.
You're saying that he's manipulated people, but you can only manipulate people who believe.
A pathological case against someone who manages to pull off this one event, and it builds and builds and builds until he becomes an abusive person and a threat to
It's not abusive if you're just doing it on Twitter. Look, if I claim to be intergalactic
I'm not
space,
saying he's abusing people as a oh, you stupid so and so. I'm saying he is abusing the power of what he has. So
everybody has it.
You want to put this on hold for a minute?
603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, most were released, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed, but that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges, but as importantly, contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Zoo visitors watch the mating rituals of the ice cream shop staff, and a serious coworker puts on headphones to focus on his sandwich. Happiness is perpetually fleeting, so try to savor the next few minutes before it disappears once again. This is the Onion Week in Review. FBI officials announced they just can't bring themselves to bust a man who recently downloaded every season of the 1990s television show Picket Fences from a BitTorrent website. While stressing that pirating copyrighted material is strictly illegal, federal authorities expressed their sympathy for the man and claimed that perhaps the story of Sheriff Jimmy Brock and the strange events in a small Wisconsin town is all he has left to cling to.
We have more than enough evidence to bust him for piracy, but if the poor guy really wants to watch all 4 seasons of a 20-year-old CBS drama that nobody remembers, then he's clearly going through a pretty big rough patch right now. And frankly, we don't need to make it any worse.
For statistical purposes, we have seized all private data from your personal computer, and we are disgusted with your recent internet search history. You sick f***. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. If you called in and you've been on hold for a little while, I apologize because we had a network problem back to the main studio. It's Mark with you.
Henry here. And I've got someone texting that wants to call, and they want the number again.
I'll give it right now. By the way, our lines are full, so you're going to have to wait just a little bit. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. But we can go to the phones here. Real quick, I want to thank the amplifiers and specifically Pizza Cake Man, who is a silver amplifier. So Pizza Cake Man, thank you for amping Free Talk Live. And you can amp Free Talk Live, yes?
The people that are waiting to get on the phone lines, is there a way for them to send messages?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, email.
There's only one way to communicate?
It's a call-in show. Call in.
I thought maybe you tweet or do, build up your social media, buddy.
You can tweet it to us at freetalklive.com.
Right,
but
okay. Right.
Look, I don't want to build Twitter's business. That's what Trump did.
Somebody's got to replace Elon Musk.
That's the thing is that I have no interest in building up these social media platforms that have. Look, Free Talk Live at one point had 19.8 million post views in 1 week on Facebook, and I realized I'm a completely unpaid content generator for these jerks, and I stopped. Just quit. So the number 603-283-6160. Become an unpaid content generator for me.
Well said.
That's exactly right. You were going to get me, weren't you?
You got any callers?
Yeah, we did. We got John in Missouri and Jerome coming up. John, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello. I'd like to hear if anyone has it, the phone number for X Insurance and perhaps some user experience.
What kind of insurance?
Xinsurance.com.
I don't know what X Insurance is.
Well,
you mean for your ex-spouse?
It's supposed to be low-cost auto insurance.
I've heard of Geico. I don't know what to tell you, man. Appreciate the call. I've never heard of it. But poor guy waited for 20 minutes to ask us that question. Let's go to Jerome calling in from, I presume, South Carolina. Jerome, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I like Progressive because their commercials are funnier. It's a bundle. It's a bundle. I like their commercials better.
They do have some good commercials. I don't know if I have a preference for any particular insurance company.
Hey, you know what I want to know? How is it we can get, they can produce writers that could put funny stuff in a commercial for like football, but baseball, the commercials basically are boring. And TV shows are like Saturday Night Live been on for like 50 years. It's not even funny anymore. Okay?
I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since I was in high school.
It's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
None of these shows are funny. These people can't act. They're all pretty. It's just like these talk shows in the morning. Oh, who's the prettiest and who's the most? And we bring on another celebrity, and they come on and talk for forever. It just bores you, man. Like boring. And as far as
most of the media I've been consuming is on either Netflix or Amazon Prime, that kind of thing, and it's very niche media. But that's what I look for entertainment. Sometimes I'll watch some YouTube videos.
I get tired of pretty people all the time, man. I'm just tired of them.
Well, speaking for all the pretty people, Jerome.
They don't never say anything.
I'm sorry.
Anything to listen to. All right.
You missed Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live.
What's this guy, Asperger's syndrome or whatever you call it?
Yes.
Hey, by the way, I'm not getting any driverless cars, okay? And those cars are like blowing up now. So what do you think will happen if he sends a spaceship up in there and that blows up? What are they going to say about the great and genius of Elon Musk then?
I guess they'll put him in NASA.
Before. Oh, gosh.
They've had a couple
Anyway.
blow up, didn't they?
Yeah. Hey, look, that's why I hate flying of any type anymore. I used to fly all the time when I was in the Air Force. Not now. Hey, but
Supposed to
I
be
just
safer
wanna
than
say
driving.
something. Yeah, driverless car, right? That explodes on you. And
I
they
have
they
been
can't
in a
put the
driverless
fire
car,
out.
but I don't know. I mean, it never got above 20 miles an hour, so I didn't feel like really much was going on.
I've been in a
And then
driverless
you have-
car, but I swear I did not have a drink.
Okay, right. Sure, I believe that. Anyway, this Netanyahu. Hey, this is Trump's boy, right? Benjamin, the great corruption, Benjamin Netanyahu. His foreign
Netanyahu?
policy is a damn failure in the Middle East, man. And they keep putting this guy up. He is I saw him on 60 Minutes a couple years ago. So, he takes kickbacks from Putin. I said, well, can you get any scummier than that? The guy who put Navalny in prison for criticizing him, who votes him himself for another 900 years. You're taking money from him, and I'm supposed to say, oh, yeah, he is a legit leader in the Middle East. Well, now look what the hell's going on again. Since 1948, okay, they've bombed these people back to the damn Stone Age, and that still ain't working. No. And Trump's over there kowtowing to him, and that's not working now either. No.
It seems like long-term leaders that kind of manipulate elections, that's kind of a Middle East thing, isn't it? I mean, it's certainly not just
The
Israel.
whole election thing is a little new for the Middle East.
The whole election thing's a little new, and I'm not sure how it's going.
Hey, can Israel divorce him? I mean, Bill Gates, who was about $500 gazillion, he divorced his old lady after 27 years because they just got tired of looking at each other. Hey, she's been looking to divorce him for the last 2 years or so, okay?
Yeah,
But
it looks
they
like
can't
it's
get
not going
rid of
very well
that,
for
y'all.
him. I
They
think she's
can't
going to have some
find
things to
anybody
say.
else to replace him. It's better. That's a sad country, man.
Well, I don't know. I mean, anything you want to take from that, Henry?
No.
Jerome, thank you for the call. I do
Thanks,
appreciate
Jerome.
it. Netanyahu. If I was
I
in
know
Israel,
what I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't vote
step
for the
on
Likud party. That's Netanyahu's party.
Yeah.
I wouldn't vote for him.
Yitzhak Rabin, the prime minister that was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the last time that the two-state solution was feasible. And ever since then, it's just been obstruction and more obstacles put in the way to unwind before you could ever get to the two-state solution. And I showed you the map on one of the breaks, and I don't see how there's ever a two-state solution, but everybody gives lip service to that because they don't want to say what I was saying to you about what's really going on.
Yeah, well, it's just ultimately a cultural clash, and one culture has the power and one culture doesn't.
I think Elon Musk is behind your callers, though.
Why do you think that
to
is?
prevent us from getting him banned on Twitter. Hashtag ban Musk.
You can promote that on Free Talk Live because it's Free Talk Live, but you do not have my endorsement.
Do I need that?
No, you do not.
Okay.
You are a host on Free Talk Live. You don't need my endorsement for anything. Please go ahead.
Oh, I have the floor to talk about Musk.
You
I think we
read
get
the
to
story.
Well, I've been trying to lay the groundwork here for my case. So we have the I'm taking the company private at $420, and all the shorts get squeezed out and lose their money, and then we have the price goes up, and then he decides to put on Twitter, I think the price of the stock is a little high. That is obvious manipulation, but the SEC doesn't slam him with that. Now, prior to this, he was just manipulating his own company. But now he obviously is manipulating the price of Bitcoin. We've seen what's happened in the last week.
And Dogecoin.
And he dislocated $350 billion of market cap in the cryptocurrency marketplace. And now he's flip-flopped 2 or 3 times in a week's time, all to cover up his failings and to accept Bitcoin for cars.
How do you mean he's... Hold on. I want to hear about this when we get back. What are the failings to accept Bitcoin for Teslas? The number 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live. The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
The number, 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. And you can call in and talk about whatever's on your mind, but we are talking about Henry's penchant for getting Elon Musk kicked off of Twitter.
Penchant?
Well,
is that what you call a crusade? A penchant? I don't
perhaps.
even know what a penchant is.
I'm not entirely sure here. I'll look it up for you.
Is that a fondness, an infatuation?
Pet peeve? You've got so many pet peeves that you should start yourself a little peeve zoo.
I'm a happy person. I'm filled with joy. But I do see injustice, and sometimes I speak out against it. And you look at what Elon Musk did. We finally got through what he did with Tesla, but let's talk about what he's done with Dogecoin and Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Well, wait a second. A penchant is a strong or habitual liking for something or a tendency to do something. So there you go.
Oh, like my penchant for chocolate-covered Oreos.
Well, that sounds good.
Oh,
you didn't bring any, did you?
Fresh Market on Manatee Avenue, man. It's the only Fresh Market in Manatee County that has them.
I see.
It's like crack in a dessert.
Go ahead.
All right, we're talking about how he took advantage of people. He not only took advantage, he didn't take something from them. Not take advantage of it. He used them as props for his ego and his playfulness, his self-esteem, whatever it is. He gives Asperger's syndrome a bad name. I'll tell you that right now.
Now, one could make the argument that Elon Musk created the value in Dogecoin and Bitcoin that he is now manipulating, right?
That doesn't give you the right to pull the rug out of those people you led down the path of that. Not to mention the fact that it seems like he was being disingenuous after what we're talking about right now. Let's remind people, he brought up Dogecoin, he helped to get a pop, got the value of it going up.
Dogecoin has been a pump and dump scheme for the last near
decade. We're talking Elon Musk here. Don't give me this diversion stuff. There's lots of creepy people out there that manipulate the market, but I'm not going #ban creepy people from Twitter. That would be a fool's errand. But ban Musk, yes. All right. Or #ban Musk, it worked for Trump. Okay, so he builds it up. And then he goes on Saturday Night Live, and I know this because I DVR Saturday Night Live because I don't turn my back on the culture that's been built up over the decades in this country like you, Mark.
I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since I was in high school.
Then he goes on their Weekend Edition segment, and without setting it up and trying to be funny like they were, the host says, "Oh, you mean it's a hustle?" And he goes, "Yeah, pretty much." And you can see the market collapse on that joke. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't understand humor, didn't understand what was going to happen when he said that. But then, post that, he deliberately goes on Twitter and says, "We're not going to accept Bitcoin for Teslas."
It did seem really weird that A, they're going to accept Bitcoin, and then B, we're not going to accept Bitcoin.
He had this epiphany of the anti-greenness of Bitcoin because of the carbon footprint. Because, Mark, it uses as much power as Finland. How much energy does Apple use around the world?
I have no idea, but I would ask the question: how much energy does the legacy banking system use?
That too,
right? Like Bitcoin was created to replace the legacy banking system, and you think of all the fluorescent lights. Bitcoin doesn't use as much as the fluorescent lights in every bank around the world. Be serious.
You tell me it has the carbon footprint of Georgia, I might get upset, but the carbon footprint of Finland? Up in Scandinavia, they're still burning firewood.
And there are proposals, as a matter of fact, here on news.bitcoin.com, a proposal from, the co-founder of Cyfox and Paux, Michael Dubrovsky, revealed the nonprofit Paux has recently submitted a Bitcoin improvement proposal that aims to produce a durable, low-energy Bitcoin proof-of-work system. So,
But you don't even have to go that far. I mean, you're for free markets. I believe that's part of the libertarian creed, isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
No, absolutely, sure.
So in free markets, the people compete. They try and become more efficient. They try and reduce their costs. So renewable energy, if it's available to you, becomes a higher incentive for Bitcoin miners than hot dog vendors.
Sure. And I actually did run miners off of solar panels in the past.
So China consumes a lot of coal. I understand that's a lot of Bitcoin mining over there, but it's an addressable problem. So the idea that
maybe Elon Musk should just say he's not going to do business with China and people that torture ethnic minorities.
CNBC, one of the hosts, Wilfred Frost, floated this story in one of those couch sways that journalists sometimes do. Some people are saying, that Elon Musk found out that it would be too much of a hassle to accept Bitcoin for Tesla.
Why would it be that hard?
Because it's not like they're just going to sign up with BitPay, just do it and convert it to, they were talking about bringing it into their treasury, accumulating in their treasury, and then you've got the recognition tax laws. It's a pain in the butt for the size of the market of people that are going to spend Bitcoin on Tesla for a global company.
Right.
And rather than just say...
I must say, I considered it. I thought, maybe I'll get one of those Tesla trucks whenever they manage to get those things out.
Like you that are moguls of the media world, like you are on your 200 stations, and
not very many of us,
shaking the tree of knowledge right now.
Free Talk Live was the first media in the world to discuss Bitcoin. Yes. And we happen to, so yeah.
And so he did not have it in himself to just admit to people, we're not going to be able to do that right now. I misspoke. I miscalculated. I did something. But instead, I'm going to create this whole narrative that we did it because we're so green loving. It doesn't fit with our mission statement at Tesla. But, by the way, the only reason they beat earnings is because they sold off some of the Bitcoin that they bought for a $100 million profit on this last quarterly report, which pushed them over and helped prop up their stock price for a while. But he said, I'm not going to sell the Bitcoin. We're still keeping that in the treasury. So we absorbed that. We absorbed that news, and the market came back some, not all the way. So then we get to the latest stuff today as I'm looking for my glasses. That's why I'm taking my mouth away from this microphone, Mark. But here they are on my eyes.
You can see fine. Go ahead.
All right. So now there was a tweet today that he did not have to respond to. Someone with the handle @CryptoWhale, which is how all you guys identify each other if you were one. A quote, Bitcoiners are going to slap themselves next quarter when they find out Tesla dumped the rest of their Bitcoin holdings with the amount of hate Elon Musk is getting. I wouldn't blame him. Okay, that's just Crypto Whale talking. Elon Musk didn't have to comment on that.
No.
And then he responded, quote...
Elon
yes.
responded? Okay.
Indeed. And so, what does that mean? Is it one of those ambiguous things? It could be interpreted, yes, indeed, we did sell off all our Bitcoin.
Right.
And the
or indeed, I'm getting
crashed
hate.
Today. Well, crash was in Bitcoin terms, maybe. Anyway, it was...
down a couple grand.
It dropped down into 3,300, 3,400 territory. I don't know where it is right now.
It dropped to 30... What?
3,300 something.
Maybe that's how much it dropped.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ethereum.
Yeah, I don't know about Ethereum.
It was 4,400 or something like 44,000.
Right. Ethereum's at 35.25. Bitcoin's at 46.
Right, so they both bounced off the lows of the day since the tweet, but they're still at a lower level than they were before this exchange happened.
Yep.
And any other CEO of a company that was regulated by the
Jamie
SEC,
Dimon couldn't do anything to the price of Bitcoin, and believe me, he tried.
But if he said, we've loaned out all our assets for a 0.5%, or if somebody said, if Crypto Banker said, JP Morgan has no money in reserves and they're about to absorb defaults from all their major banking customers, and then Jamie Dimon says, indeed, you think the stock wouldn't go down?
It wouldn't be good. That's for sure.
So, it's behavior that isn't tolerated. It is dislocating such great amounts of the market, not just your stockholders now. You're rippling through. You're a force that is being disruptive for your own personal ego, and you're affecting the well-being of not just your shareholders, but of literally millions of people around the world. Ban him from Twitter.
I will say that you're making a pretty good case that he is being wildly irresponsible, that he is behaving in a fashion that really should not be acceptable to any Americans that know what's going on. Now, I'm not for...
And what is his medium for this?
He seems to use Twitter. Well, now,
exactly.
I would ask this question. Why does the news care about Twitter so badly? I mean, if he went on, he's using lots of platforms. Believe me, he's got to be. Free Talk Live goes on to this.
That's where his followers are.
I'm saying the Free Talk Live goes onto this platform called Whale.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 0419 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
After this morning's police raid on Cosmopolitan magazine's male pleasure laboratory revealed that test subjects were forced to endure horrific abuses and inhumane living conditions, Onion reporters spoke to 23-year-old Daniel Chertok, one of the numerous men exploited for the monthly magazine's studies on erotic stimulation.
It was awful. They drove us wild for days on end. Once they made me lather myself with gallons of sexy bath oils, and then read thousands of racy text messages until my eyesight began to blur. Then for the next 12 hours, they blasted sultry songs into my ears and made me simulate 50 crazy hot sex moves. They said I couldn't rest until they found the bliss button on my randy regions.
According to Chertok, test subjects were often subjected to hours of grueling experimentation at the hands of female scientists. Chertok added that many of his fellow subjects were not lucky enough to survive the excruciating treatment.
This is the Onion News Network.
Put it on the show for
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
Henry sitting in on Free Talk Live for the second night in a row. I do appreciate it. We're going to try to do Free Talk Live here from the remote studios in Florida.
Luxurious remote studio.
But I got to say, this is not a bad chair in which I sit. And I have never worked in a nice radio station. So, I mean, like, to me, luxurious and radio doesn't really go together. It's just not the way it is. But yeah, it's been really great, and I do appreciate the good folks here giving us the opportunity to use the studios. And you can call in to our studios in New Hampshire. We will then get it routed via Comrex down here, hear what you're saying, and then be able to chat with you. The number is 603-283-6160. Also want to thank the captain for sitting in and doing, what did we decide, Captain? This is executive producer work?
You know, yeah, in fact, I had some friends of mine after I stopped playing in heavy metal bands for a couple of years, and I would always just be hanging out with them at their rehearsal place, and they dubbed me executive producer because I would bring booze. I didn't actually help the band in any way, so I think executive producer probably fits the bill, even though I'm doing more and I'm not providing you guys with booze.
I do appreciate it. Thank you, so Captain. Henry, I don't know. I didn't mention it with you, but I'm on the wagon too. It's been months and months since I've had anything to drink, and Captain brought it up there.
I didn't know that you didn't want to drink or you didn't drink.
I don't know what I wanted and didn't want to do. What I decided is that it was probably going to be easier to lose weight if I didn't take in a depressant that caused that my body would.
Well, I haven't drunk since 2012, and looks at the wonders it's done for me.
Right. It's probably those chocolate-covered Oreos you were mentioning earlier.
And you know, the sugar has that same mechanism that alcohol does. It was a dopamine response and all like that, except you're allowed to drive a car.
I think that sugar is probably so. Alcohol includes a depressant aspect that sugar doesn't have. So alcohol, I would say, is worse in the sense of losing
it's bad
weight.
To drive under alcohol.
Well, that's the mind-altering aspect.
I was born to the dopamine response in my day of drinking.
Well,
I didn't need to be depressed. I was rather a happy drunk, actually.
See, makes you happy, whatever the case may be.
I was getting that dopamine.
Well, for me, it wasn't. I'm consuming too much alcohol, and it's ruining my life or anything like that. It was just
it wasn't a problem.
I was chubby, and I didn't want to be chubby. But I have to thank the good folks at the Wuhan lab for giving me COVID. I lost 15 pounds in 5 days when I had the COVIDs. So, thank you, Dr. Fauci, and your work with the Wuhan folks, and thank you, China.
Huh?
Yeah, so give credit where credit is
grateful.
due. Thank you, Elon Musk.
What are you thankful for him about?
I don't know. I guess he probably gave Bitcoin a bit of a boost at one point, and now he's taken some of that back.
Has the groundswell occurred yet? Are we trending on Twitter with Ban Musk yet?
I don't know. I don't look at Twitter. I hate Twitter.
Well, you're one influencer who does, and others don't.
Lots of people like Twitter.
There's people that wish they were on Twitter.
There's people that wish they had the amount of followers on Twitter that Free Talk Live does, and we've never even tried. Hold on. We don't try, so go to twitter.freetalklive.com and sign up.
I'll do that right now. Let's see what's happening on Twitter with at freetalklive.com.
Well, that's what it is, at Free Talk Live. Just at Free Talk Live.
Yeah. Way to promote.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Okay, and the 1 millionth follower will get how much Bitcoin?
1 millionth follower that follows tonight. If you're the 1 millionth follower tonight, we will get you
1 millionth of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, we'll give you a Bitcoin. 1 million legitimate followers tonight. I mean, tonight's over in 3 hours.
How long is it going to take me to create 1 million false handles?
I don't know. I don't know anything about Twitter.
What's at FTL show
at Free
prep?
Talk. What's it?
Free Talk Live show at FTL show prep. Is that yours?
I believe that is just the stuff that we've talked about. So the captain's probably going to post some of our stuff.
At Live Free Talk.
I don't know.
That's not yours?
I don't know. We got lots of stuff. We're big enough that we have pretenders, sure.
Huh. I hate to leave dead air, but I am fascinated by all this. I want to know what the show prep was. At FTL show.
Well, I can tell you we're nothing compared to Elon Musk.
You're losing me, Mark. Oh.
I know nothing of Twitter. I'm sorry.
I'm leaving you out there to hang out.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
I could go to Twitter and find the show prep. Let's see what it says.
I don't know where you're looking or what you're looking for. I missed most of your conversation, but
yeah, this is a bunch of links.
Basically we put up the links of all the stuff we talk about so that people can go and look at those stories.
It doesn't look like it's been updated since 2010.
Okay, that must be old.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's see.
I'm now referring to Elon Musk.
Hold on just a second. Yeah. Captain,
I'm now referring to Elon Musk as Muskrat. And anybody who likes him and follows him is also a muskrat. Because I smell a rat.
Captain, while you're on here, where does our show prep go? When it gets tooted, does it just go to @Free Talk Live?
No, it goes out to our Facebook feed. It goes out to our Twitter and some other places that
But on
don't
Twitter,
recall.
is it @Free Talk Live?
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy.
All right. Somebody set this crap up.
Well, I see a lot of links to things you talk about on the air. I see yesterday's story about the principal smacking little 6-year-old.
Then that's where it goes.
On Twitter, yeah. So it should go out to, we use a handy application that is sort of a meta application that sends
It's called
out.
Whalebird.
Yeah, it sends out to multiple social media outlets at the same time. So we just had to figure out, okay, what's the smallest amount of characters for any of these social media? And then let's keep our posts below that. So we basically just say 2 or 3 words and then post a link. Sometimes just the link gets posted out. So
you can follow me on Twitter at 1medge1. That says Medge as in Mark Edge.
The numeral or the word?
The numeral.
Okay. Well, that was enlightening.
And I never post there. So
what have you been thinking about? We've been enough about me. We've been talking about what's on my mind. What's on your mind?
As far as Elon Musk goes?
If you want.
I hate the idea of banning anybody from any particular platform.
Why? It's a private company.
Well, yeah, it is a private company, but I think that
some kind of cancel culture.
You've made
pick on a private company.
Yeah, absolutely. When that private company basically becomes the press, you wouldn't. I don't like it when the news leaves news stories out. I think that if Twitter purports itself to be a platform at which one can go and microblog, then one should be able to go there and microblog, and that Twitter shouldn't be deciding what you say and what you don't say. But I think you've made a pretty good case that Elon Musk is attempting to manipulate the market here, and that there are people that are being harmed, and that he is doing so, in a malicious fashion. So, I can see the point, but I would never advocate for banning or anything like that.
How about just boycott Tesla? # boycott Tesla.
I think you should buy Teslas because you think they're good cars. I don't know if they are. I drove one, but and it was super fast, but I don't care about a super fast car. That doesn't mean anything to me.
So you don't want social good interfering with the marketplace?
No, what I want is I want to know if having a battery-powered car is in fact social good. And we, as you know, in my household, we drive a plug-in Prius that we got the first year that they made the darn things. And
you're driving the same one?
Yeah. It's 2012. And
that's a while. Yeah. How many miles are on it?
It's got to be getting close to 200. It gets driven every year, up and down. Well, it's a great car. The Prius itself is a great car. But anyway, not here to plug Prius, but we've never had a problem.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And we'll talk about, well, whatever. I do want to remind you that Fork Fest is going on in, well, basically the weekend before July 4th in New Hampshire in the beautiful White Mountains at Rogers Campground. If you want to hang out with many of the hosts from Free Talk Live will be performed there at Fork Fest and the earlier Pork Fest that is going on. So you get Pork and Fork Fest going on in Rogers Campground for 2 weeks.
Pork with a P and fork with an F?
Pork with a C, meaning Porcupine Freedom Fest.
Oh.
And then Fork Fest is a fork of Pork Fest in the sort of Bitcoin sense. This is like, the
play on words.
Yeah, the irascible, difficult to deal with libertarians suddenly get kicked out of Pork Fest, create their own called Fork Fest that goes on before or after, and then, yay, party. And so it's a fun time had by all. It is fun. If you go to Fork Fest, spelled like a fork that you eat with, forkfest.party, that is a real URL, forkfest.party. You will get the unofficial website, and you can go over there and have fun and chat it up and figure out what you're going to do.
Hashtag ban Musk is all over Twitter.
You're trending.
Yes.
We're trending.
I should have put a hashtag FTL.
Well, I I don't know. Yeah, sure. That's what we should do. Let's go to the phones. We've got David in New Mexico calling in. As soon as I can make this cursor work. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, listening on KIVA, the Rock of Talk, Albuquerque, New Mexico, with Eddie Aragon.
Is that the station we're on? Great. Kiva.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on Kiva on Sundays. Hey, Eddie, put them on Saturdays as well. And then you're on Saturdays, and Saturdays you're on KINN in Alamogordo, and on Saturdays and Sundays you're also on KENN in Farmington.
Guess we're all over the place there in New Mexico, huh?
Yeah, I think you're probably on the weekends. You're probably well, you cover the whole state on the weekends in New Mexico. You probably got more coverage here.
Funny thing about Free Talk Live on the weekends is we're basically in our time slot, which is 7p to 10p Eastern time. We're almost the only live thing out there. I think there's one other live show, maybe two other live shows, period. And that there are actually, last I checked, 3 hours out of the 6 that we're on in that time frame where there's nothing but Free Talk Live.
Right. Yeah, it's a good deal, man.
Yeah, we're the only live thing on the air in America.
Yeah.
Dave sounds like a great listener. He's dedicated. I mean, Dave is just going through the roof in my esteem for him.
Yeah, he's cruising the dial looking for FTL.
Well, you're the only one. I'm held in high esteem by one person nationwide. All right.
What's in your mind, Dave?
Oh, well, I want to hammer this law enforcement thing a little more, and I want to go a layer deeper on the onion. But first of all, I got to say that your picture there on your chair, that's the same picture I get to punch you. I get to punch you in the face every time I call Free Talk Live, because that's the thumbnail for Free Talk Live on my phone and my contacts.
Yep, it's a good shot, and the captain has my picture on the cam at cam.freetalklive.com. He's printed it off and stuck it on a chair. We will have cameras at some point in this studio, but I think we're only doing one more week in studio, and then I'm going to be heading back to New Hampshire. So
cool. So law enforcement in New Mexico, here's the next layer of the onion, and this is the jurisdiction of the Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. You should be listening up, and Cabinet Secretary, Public Safety, State Police Chief, and the deputy that I spoke to the Deputy Secretary for about an hour about this problem of retaliation. And let me say that again, retaliation, that's a legal term. That's a civil rights violation, New Mexico State Police. Your officers are retaliating and threatening me in an unlawful way, and this is a legal notice to you, State of New Mexico. And this is in the this concerns the state police and the sheriff's department in some counties around the city of Albuquerque. And here's what's happening: is when I call in things like these 3 auto thefts. In the last 2 weeks, 2 of them in 48 hours that I told you about yesterday. Oh, and by the way, when I woke up this morning at 4 a.m., 4:30, and I noticed 2 cars coming up the road in the dark with their headlights, and they turned into the property where that car was stolen from, the closest one. And I assumed that they were cops checking the place out. They were only 48 hours late in their response to the call of an auto theft. But thank you anyway, whoever that was, state police, county deputies. And if it wasn't you cops, then it was just more thieves scoping the place out, which could be the case because an hour after I saw those 2 vehicles this morning when I woke up, I watched for an hour another SUV drive around the neighborhood, casing properties and going on properties, and I watched them physically removing property from other properties. Did I call the cops, New Mexico State Police? No, I didn't. You know why? Because you threaten me when I call you. You retaliate against me when I call you because your dispatchers are, in legal terms, negligent and malicious. And then so David, when I asked to speak to their...
What you said yesterday is that basically you called on these situations where cars were being stolen and that police officers were like, we want to come to your house and we want to talk to you. Don't you think there's... Yeah. I mean, I can see why that's scary, but don't you think it's a little And like, it makes sense that cops would want to come and talk to you, like at some point?
No, because I know exactly what it was. I was reporting, I used the language, quote unquote, crime in progress. And the location is right over there. Right now, a criminal is stealing my neighbor's vehicle. And you want to come and talk to me, New Mexico law enforcement? What that tells me is the tone of voice that you're hearing right now, when I gave that to your dispatcher, and then I gave it to the dispatcher supervisor named Michael, who claimed to be a detective in this given county, and he was derogatory towards me and then threatening towards me in telling me that he was dispatching officers to come to talk to me when there was a crime in progress that I'm looking at right at the moment. What that tells me is that's an intimidation tactic. Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, Attorney General, United States of America, while you're coming to Albuquerque to investigate the Albuquerque Police Department, why don't you investigate?
Are they still investigating the Albuquerque Police Department? I know they did previously.
Hell yeah, they are. Hell yeah, they are. They're not letting go of that one. They're still there, and it's stronger than ever, and they've doubled down on it. So the U.S. Attorney General, you can come and investigate this because this is a strong-arm tactic to intimidate me. And the other interesting thing about the call from Michael at the agency in question is that he questioned he goes, well, that's 10 blocks away from you. How are you seeing what's going on over there? Which is irrelevant, Michael, how I see it. Have you ever heard of binoculars? People in the wide open in the West have binoculars, you dumb ass.
Well, I can see what David's point is on this one, and I can see how he might be a little concerned about giving his address out to the cops in this circumstance. The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
If you're looking for work, you know what I mean by elevator speech. It's the short version, saying just enough to make the listener want to listen more. Even if you're not a job seeker, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. So to cut through the clutter, choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Instead of saying, due to the fact that, say, because. And avoid mispronunciations. Say jewelry, not jewelry, which could offend. Undoubtedly, you don't want to say undoubtedly. And whatever you do, never use a preposition to end a sentence with. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
World fast for peace.
I don't understand what she said.
If the whole world fasted like Gandhi, we would see great results for this struggle to survive world order.
There's never going to be any peace. You sound like you're on drugs, dear. It sounds like you're a flower child. You're pumped up on drugs.
Any woman who doesn't agree with you is on drugs or something.
I may be a racist and anti-Semite, but I have all my faculties.
Well, racism and sexism are one.
You're one of those love mankind, love thy neighbor.
And I am too, and thank you both for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. That is the one thing I can certainly agree with the lady on. Normally I can't understand a word that she says, but I think Scott, the bigot, did interpret her correctly, and that she is interested in peace, and I like that.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Henry, you found a piece of show prep. It's Mark Edge with you.
Hi, Henry Raines.
And you found a piece of show prep that derailed everything I intended to do here in the final couple of segments of the show, and I just want to talk about it. So from uk.news.yahoo.com. Can you help me out with this name?
What are you looking at?
Bequia?
Oh. Well, it could be.
I'm gonna
Bequia.
Bequia. This is an island in the nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Interestingly, this is where my wife and I went on our honeymoon 16 years ago, 17, however, whenever we got married, and I don't know exactly when it was. I couldn't even tell you the year, frankly. I think it was 2005. And it says the Caribbean island home to the world's first Bitcoin community. So they got the story. I'm going to read it. A Caribbean housing developer is creating the world's first Bitcoin community where residents will pay for property, goods, and services entirely in cryptocurrency. The first fully Bitcoin-enabled community will be set up in Bequia, in an 18-square-kilometer Caribbean island that is part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So it'll be set up in this island. It is not that island. So it's not like everything on the island is this way. But I suspect if you have one community, pretty soon people will begin accepting certain cryptocurrencies. The project is a brainchild of real estate developer Storm Gonsalves, who plans to build 39 luxury villas, shops, a clubhouse, and buildings with his company, One Bequia. Residents will be able to pay for everyday essentials like groceries, restaurants, and entertainment in Bitcoin, as well as buying their property with the cryptocurrency. The property
Who has sovereignty over that?
What do you mean?
The Bequia.
Oh, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And they have sovereignty over themselves.
They are a nation. I mean, it's as much as any nation has sovereignty. I would say that the only sovereign places in the world, the only sovereign entities in the world are the United States, Russia, and China. Sorry,
I don't want to make you digress.
You're right.
Over my curiosity.
The residents will be able to pay for everyday essentials like groceries and restaurants and entertainment in Bitcoin, as well as buy their property with cryptocurrency. The properties ranging from 670 euros to 1.6 million euros. You got a quick off the top of your head, translation for that?
Dollars to euros?
Yeah, so 670.
Maybe 1.25?
Yeah, something like that. So maybe $800,000 to $1.8 million.
For a luxury villa? Or what are we talking about?
Yeah, luxury villa. Yeah.
Oh.
It can be purchased using cryptocurrency equivalents, where prices are locked in to avoid fluctuations in price during the transactions. Speaking to the Express, which is, a news agency, Mr. Gonsalves said that buying property in cryptocurrencies will become a very normal thing to do in years to come. I think that's probably true. Right now, we're pioneering an alternative form of financing. We're also pioneering a new way of marketing. I think he's right about buying property. Normally, you don't have this seller's market that's going on in many places in the United States,
Yes.
especially here in the Gulf Coast. The seller's market means that you're putting up a house for sale and people are bidding above the price.
A listing just today that had a price and said, submit your offer, and you've got a price.
What do I need to submit an offer for? You got a price, right? And this is what's happening here in the Gulf Coast and many places around the United States, is that you've got this seller's market. Right now with a seller's market, you can't say, hey, I want to pay in Bitcoin or something like that. But under normal circumstances, you can make an offer and make it contingent upon the acceptance of cryptocurrency and be much more likely that these things will happen. Right now, a seller can be like, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't think I'm really interested in selling my property to you. I'll just take one of these other 10 people that want to buy it.
Right.
And so that's what's happening. But I do agree. There are over $1 trillion in the dollars in the market cap of Bitcoin alone, and many of these purchasers first bought it when Bitcoin was only $1,000. So there's a lot of wealth in the crypto market that cannot be ignored anymore. It's just too large. It's really hit the mainstream. So I think that we're doing what we're doing is going to become run of the mill, in a few years from now. Cryptocurrencies could also provide a solution to the financial challenges in the Caribbean, where island communities can be cut off from mainstream banking facilities. That's true. Bitcoin was designed by Satoshi Nakamoto to give the ability to bank to anybody who had a smartphone, essentially, or a computer, or whatever the situation
I don't think
was.
there were smartphones back then.
Yeah. There were smartphones, but they weren't apps.
That's smart.
Yeah, they weren't terribly smart. But I think you could look at it and say, yeah, you could. Were there apps? There were apps in 2009. So I think you could have looked forward to say that that's the case. But I don't know what Satoshi Nakamoto was thinking. He disappeared. He, she, them, they.
To bequeath.
Perhaps to buy a luxury villa for less than $2 million. Residents of small island nations are finding it increasingly difficult to send and receive money internationally because of de-risking by large international banks, a practice of removing intermediary banking services from smaller community banks. So what they're finding is that weird things are going on with many of these community banks, so we're just not going to do business with them. And this is truly happening. Big banks aren't making it easier for poor and disadvantaged people around the world to do business in the greater international community.
Why do they need the big banks? Why do the poor people need it? Why don't they just use Cash App or something like that?
I think that it's to get, so there's getting a piece of the pie and then there's growing the pie. They can grow the pie only so much. They need to be able to buy things like concrete and wood and things like that to build greater communities on their own island. So if they can't get access to money, because money is in and of itself a commodity, they have to have access to it.
I see. I thought we had shifted our focus to poor people in general.
Poor people in general, yeah. I mean, that's true for poor people in general. But this is the Caribbean island. Anyway, this Gonsalves says, this prevents the island-based banks from transacting internationally. If this trend continues, it means small island nations will be essentially cut off from international trade and commerce. For tourism-based economies, this will be devastating. And what we've seen is during COVID, many of these island nations, they shut down. I mean, their economies shut down, and it was terrible for them. I am a resident of the U.S. Marianas, which is an island where 80% of its GDP comes from tourism. And when the governor felt like he had to shut down plane flights from all around the world. I mean, frankly, tourism had crashed weeks before that, but he shut down the plane flights. I mean, the only thing that they could do is beg the United States for relief money from FEMA and these sorts of things, and they got it. But these Caribbean islands, they're not part of the United States, so they're not getting this relief money, and they've just got to figure it out on their own. And mostly what that means is everybody's doing without when it comes to having money. This prevents island-based banks from transacting internationally. If this trend continues, it means small island nations will essentially, I read that one already. Caribbean countries are adopting blockchain and cryptocurrencies more quickly than elsewhere as a result. Gonsalves says St. Lucia, Grenada, Antigua, Barbuda, the St. Kitts and Nevis launched Dcash, the world's first digital currency union in the world, which is backed by a central bank. Gonsalves believes that Bequia properties will attract those who already invest in cryptocurrencies. He told Europeans not everyone understands the advantage of cryptocurrencies. People are still kept skeptical. So I think this is interesting, and I'd love to have your opinion on the number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Final segment of Free Talk Live. We can still get you in if that's what you wish. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And remember, if it's from between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, you can always call into Free Talk Live. We'll be here tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next year, the next decade. It's Free Talk Live. The number, 603-283-6160. I've got this story here. It's coming from Yahoo News, and it's on a developer who is creating a crypto housing development. And you're going to be able to buy houses and, go out to dinner and do whatever it is that you do, services, that kind of thing, in this development, all with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and the like. His name is Gonsalves or Gonsalves. I don't propose to know how to pronounce his name. He believes that the Bequia, this is an island in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that it's going to attract property, that the properties will attract those who already invest in cryptocurrencies. Not everyone understands the advantages of cryptocurrencies, and people are still skeptical. Early crypto investors are not your typical speculators, and they believe strongly in the philosophy of decentralization behind Bitcoin and blockchain. They're not your typical speculator. However, the developer said those living in the community will also be able to use U.S. dollars if they wish, as the cryptocurrencies will be weighted against the American currency. So there you go.
So they're trying to get like-minded people to all move somewhere and form a community.
That's what they're trying to do.
That sounds familiar. Have you ever heard of something like that?
Well, in fact, I'm involved with Free Private Cities, and we're looking to do something similar, except this is a housing development where you'll be able to use cryptocurrency. I'm proposing a special economic zone, a special autonomous zone where you can use cryptocurrency and have a higher degree of freedom than you currently have. I'm not going to badmouth this particular project.
Where might one of those be?
Well, at this point, we cannot reveal any of that information.
This planet?
People have picked up and moved to New Hampshire, but we are working on a couple of different locations. We're getting close. In fact, I have to take a trip here in the relatively near future to do some scouting. So we'll see. We'll see what's what.
I hear there's a lot of population dislocation in Western China. There might be some places there that are available.
I'm trying to avoid any places that have the word red in front of the name of their country.
China?
Yeah, Red China. Yeah, that's the...
I don't think they put that as part of their name.
No, they don't. But ethno-states, that bothers me too. Just saying.
Oh, okay.
They dislike me for who I am and what I was born. I don't like that. So anyway, there are some people who dislike Musk for what he's saying.
And one of those is one of the Dogecoin creators.
That's true.
And
I dislike the Dogecoin creators for what he created.
Now, in a deleted tweet, but I have to say up front, it wasn't he caught the heat and deleted it. He said he was going to delete it in X amount of time after he posted it. The co-creator is Jackson Palmer, and he reminded people, and actually that's how the tweet comes. This is about 2 days ago, I believe. Reminder, Elon Musk is and always will be a self-absorbed grifter. He continued, removing this in 1 minute, as that's all I have to say, and I enjoy the quiet life. But he went on in a third tweet.
Why would you make a tweet and then delete it? What would be the point of that?
Because he was making a statement. He knew it would be out there, and then he just didn't want to to have a life beyond its moment.
But it does, because somebody wrote a news story about it, and obviously people are going to screen cap it. I mean, he wants that, clearly.
Well, he followed anyway with a third tweet. P.S. SNL episode was cringe, bro.
Okay. Well, I didn't watch it, so I wouldn't be able to say. But Elon Musk is not the first relatively famous guy to make it to SNL.
Well, the show had its moments.
Yeah. Oh, good. You watched it?
I watched some of it.
Okay, cool.
I DVR'd, and then I just sampled it.
That still exists? I haven't heard that term in a while. DVR?
Yeah, it's probably on demand somewhere.
Okay. Let me go to the phones here. We got Jim in Pennsylvania. Jim, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how you doing?
All's well. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
You're
was
welcome.
listening to your show here. May have happened maybe an hour ago.
Okay.
You had a guest on, and for some reason, I'm a big fan of your show. Just on the basis, you sound so honest.
I sound so what?
I was listening to one of your guests. I don't know.
Well, I have my guest host, Henry, who's on
Hi, Jim.
tonight.
And you guys. Oh, hey, how you doing?
Good.
I didn't understand where you guys come across like talking about Trump. Like,
okay,
he's not even the president anymore. But you guys said, "Oh, thank God, Trump ain't talking." And now here, Joe, he don't even recognize a border crisis. He don't even recognize. There's a lot of things he don't recognize.
Well, that whole conversation was a device to lead into the ban Musk from Twitter and the concept of banning Musk from Twitter. And the other example of that is banning Trump from Twitter, which preceded that. So I was referring to that.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
I'd say that Joe isn't doing very good at the border either. I don't to me, Joe Biden is just the second term of Trump. I don't think much has changed. I don't see a lot changing. Henry, do you?
Well, if you're talking about the border, he delayed making any changes.
Hold on, Jim.
That. And then now he's moved forward with some. And there's a whole process to how Joe Biden does things. I think it could have been foreseen and anticipated that if during the campaign he was being portrayed as being this lenient with the immigrants that were coming and asking for asylum, that he would be responsive when he took office and that he would have a more lenient policy. And he really wasn't prepared to do that. And it got overwhelmed at the border. And like I said, I think that could have been foreseen.
Jim, what do you think?
I think he's right, but let's put it this way. His hashtag before he even got elected was "Come on up." And
what is it?
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I don't know. I can't say. But thank you for the call, Jim. Do appreciate it. So Joe Biden at the border, I think that he was portrayed as somehow he was going to solve the border crisis problem and that parents wouldn't be separated from children. I don't know whether parents are being separated from children now. I can tell you that, in my opinion, Democrats, in many cases, have stopped paying attention to what's going on in government because now Orange Hitler's out and geriatric Jesus is in. And this is, to me, if you're not paying attention the other 3 years of a presidency, you shouldn't vote because of what gets said in the final year. There are far too many low information voters out there tossing their hat in the ring. And I don't care which side of the issue they are. Now, in my opinion, when it comes to the border, free people can cross the border of free countries freely, or you don't have free people and you don't have free countries. So I don't support Trump's particular, use of the border and that sort of thing. But I think it's laughable the way that Democrats are like, oh, my God, parents are being separated from children. Well, what do you expect to have happen? Do you think the Democrats are really going to solve this?
and I don't.
Well, there are the instances, though, of the people that were on Trump's team that were promoting harsher treatment for the purpose of harsher treatment as a deterrent and also as an attitude that they wanted to inculcate within the administration and within the government of the United States. So that's one thing. But if the question is, has Biden been effective in the first 100 days in dealing with the increase in attempted immigrants and the increase in the asylum seekers, from an efficiency standpoint, no. Now, what he has done, he has increased the cap on asylum seekers, so that is addressing one problem.
Well, I
He's
think
bringing
the
forward
problem with
DACA.
asylum seekers is they get a check. I hate this part. Is like, come here, say, I've been abused, and get a check. Who wants that? Americans want people to come.
It isn't just that you say, I've been abused.
Well, whatever. Look, I understand that there's all kinds of criteria, and I'm not trying to diminish that.
Yeah, you just
but
said
Americans don't want people to come in and get a check. Nobody does.
But you're just presumed, or rather presented, that there was no process to this. What about the people that came as the Yugoslavian refugees? I know some of them. I know one in particular, and his wife.
Free Talk
that were
Live.
brought-
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline.